A gute Woche. The Rebbe soll gesund sein, began to Farbrengen this afternoon, that this Shabbos, which is the last Shabbos in the month of Elul, and it is the Shabbos before Rosh Hashanah. Regarding this Shabbos, the Frierdiker Rebbe related, in behalf of the Alter Rebbe, that the Alter Rebbe heard this inyan while he was a Mezritch, from the Maggid of Mezritch, who in turn heard this from the Baal Shem Tov, that the Shabbos before Tishrei, the Shabbos before the 7th month, Tishrei, which is the 7th month from Nisan, we do not bench. It is the Rebishter that benches this month, and this gives strength to Yidden, that Yidden should be able to bless the remainder 11 months. And as we see that previous Rebbe is emphasizing that the Alter Rebbe heard this from his Rebbe, from the Maggid of Mezritch, who in turn heard it from his Rebbe, who was the Baal Shem Tov. This is, like the Gemara tells us regarding Rabbi Eliezer HaGodel, that Rabbi Eliezer HaGodel said that he never said anything which he did not hear from his rabbis, from his teachers. However, in Chassidus we find that the Alter Rebbe did add on to what he heard from his Rebbe, from the Maggid of Mezritch, and he added on many inyonim, many details to the Torahs which he heard from his Rebbe, from the Maggid of Mezritch, and it was added on in a format of Chabad philosophy, and that is why there was no need to refer to many of the other teachings of the Alter Rebbe, to say that, when it is repeated, to say that this is also heard from his Rebbe, the Maggid of Mezritch, because the Alter Rebbe added so much to it that it can now be repeated in the name of the Alter Rebbe. However, regarding this specific Torah, we find that the Frierdiker Rebbe did emphasize that the Alter Rebbe heard it from the Maggid, and the Maggid heard it from the Baal Shem Tov. And this could be explained with what the Gemara tells us, that in the Beis HaMikdash there was a custom that every morning a Korban Tamid was brought. And the procedure would be that the Memunah, the person in charge, would always ask, is it already daylight? And as the Gemara uses the expression, Heir Pnei HaMizrach, did it already become light in east? And the Gemara says he would add on the word Shebe Chevron. Is it already light in the eastern side in Chevron? And the Yerushalmi explains, why is there a need to emphasize that the question included Chevron? The same question could have been asked without adding the word Chevron. The question could have been asked, is it already light, so that we can be Makriv the Korban? And the Yerushalmi gives the answer that the reason for it is to mention the schus, the merit of the Avos. And being that our patriarchs and matriarchs, the Avos and the Imois, they are buried in Chevron, and that is why it is called Chevron. Chevron is Meloshen Chibur, attachment, because it attaches all those, it relates and attaches to all those that are buried there. So that is why before we go out and start the daily procedure of Korbanos, it is appropriate to refer and mention the merit of our patriarchs. And with this we can also understand the system of our davening. Our davening is in such a way that each and every tefillah of Shmoneh Esrei, and in every Shmoneh Esrei we ask Hashem for specific requests. How do we start? Elokei Avram, Elokei Yitzchak, and Elokei Yaakov. And then we continue, Keil Elyon, Goimel Chasodim Toivim, the great things that HaKadosh Baruch Hu bestows upon us. But all of this comes with an introduction of mentioning the schus of the office, mentioning Elokei Avram, Elokei Yitzchak, Elokei Yaakov. And it is only by the mentioning the merit of the others that we can ask for this, for these blessings of Goimel Chasodim Toivim and all other blessings which we ask for. And that is why we can understand that regarding the blessing of the month of Tishrei, which actually, this is not only the blessing for the month of Tishrei, this actually leads to the brachas for the entire year. Because the entire year we have the strength to bench from the fact that the Rebishter is benching this month. So that is why it is appropriate that when the The Friedrich Rebbe, the previous Rebbe, related this interpretation on behalf of the Alter Rebbe, that he also mentioned that the Alter Rebbe heard this from the Maggid of Mezrich. The Maggid of Mezrich in turn heard it from the Baal Shem Tov. Because here we are also mentioning our patriarchs, but which patriarchs? The patriarchs of Chassidus, the Oves Chassidus, the Alter Rebbe, the Maggid of Mezrich, and the Baal Shem, because they are the fathers of the Hasidic movement. Furthermore, every day there was a repeat in the Beis HaMikdash of bringing the same korbanos. It was the same korban tamid which was brought on a daily basis. Tamid in Kisidron. But at the same time, true it is the same korban, but each and every day, this same korban accomplished a new revelation which came down today, which we did not have until now. So therefore, it's the merit of the Avos again, also a new merit, a new zechus of the others, which led to this revelation which is coming down through the korbanos which are being brought on this day. And this can also be understood based on what Alter Rebbe tells us. That Alter Rebbe brings out in Igeras HaKodesh that every year a new revelation, an Oyer Chodosh, comes down on Rosh Hashanah, something which we did not have in previous years. And in previous years, the greatest of years, even the times when we had the Beis HaMikdash, even at a time when Adam HaRishon was in Gan Eden, which in those times there were tremendous revelations of godliness. Nonetheless, we say that each and every year we get a new revelation which we never had in previous years. And therefore, when it comes the 7th month, which is the month of Tishrei, here we are blessing this month, and this month has the Rosh Hashanah which is bringing to this great revelation which we never had in previous years. So that is why we have a HaKadosh Baruch Hu benching this month, and with this month we can bless the remainder 11 months, as it's brought out of Chassidus Bechlal, that what is the meaning of a year, a Shana? Shana is Meloshin repeat, because in this year we have a repeat of what we had in previous years. And at the same time, Shana is also Meloshin Shinui, that a year is a complete cycle. It's a complete cycle that includes within it all different types of Shinuyim, all different types of changes. So we say that even though this year is a repeat of the previous year, but nonetheless there is a new revelation which is coming down this year which we did not have in previous years. And that is why we are mentioning the schus Avos, and in this particular case, the schus of the Avos Hachsidim, that is the Alter Rebbe, the Baal Shem Tov, and the Maggid, when we are talking about the blessing of the month of Tishrei, and this gives us strength that we should be able to bless the remainder 11 months. And in this same Torah, which the previous Rebbe revealed and brought out regarding the blessing of the month of Tishrei, he also continues that it is always that the Shabbos before Rosh Hashanah, on that Shabbos we always read Parshas Nitzavim. And Nitzavim relates to Rosh Hashanah, because as the pasuk says, Atem Nitzavim Hayoim Kulchem. What is Hayoim? Hayoim is the day of the great judgment. Yoime de Dina Rabbah, as the Zohar refers to it, and it's quoted in L'Kutei Torah and Chassidus at length. And we say that on this day of judgment, which is Rosh Hashanah, Yidden are Nitzavim, they are standing. What's the pshat? They are standing. It's an expression like Nitzav-Melech. Nitzavim is an expression of standing, but a very firm standing. Such a standing that nobody can budge, nobody can move. Like a king that stands, and a king is extremely powerful to the extent that, like the Gemara says, Omar Malko, Okar Ture, a king can say, and on his word, mountains are moved. Which this shows how firm and strong a king is. So the same way, each and every Yid stands in this starkheit. And this is said to every Yid. in a way of, as the pasuk goes on, Atem Nitzavim Hayoim Kulchem. Each and every Yid has this firm stand. And therefore he is worthy of being blessed with a good year, that he comes out meriting a Shana Tova. And especially this year, that the Sedre that we read today is not only Pashas Nitzavim, but it also continues into Pashas Vayelech. And Nitzavim and Vayelech become one Pasha. And how does Pashas Vayelech end with Ad Tumam? Meaning that it comes to a level of completeness, of Shleimus. Tmimus v'Shleimus. Tmimus v'Shleimus and Torah. And Tmimus v'Shleimus and Torah is when we have a combination of Nigla Torah and Pnimis Torah. Until we come to, after Pashas Ha'azinu, after Nitzavim-Vayelech, we come to Pashas Ha'azinu, which this is what we began to read today to Menachem. Ha'azinu begins with Ha'azinu Hashamayim v'Sishma Ha'oretz. And the Sifri tells us that there's a difference between Ha'azinu and Shmiya, though both of them mean to listen. Ha'azinu means to hear, and Shmiya means to hear. Nonetheless, we are told that there is a difference. Ha'azinu is when we listen from close. Shmiya is when we listen from the distance. And what does the Torah tell us here? Shamayim reflects Ruchnius. Aretz reflects Gashmius. So we Yid is told that Ha'azinu Hashamayim. When we're talking about spiritual matters, you have to listen and be very close to it. However, when we're talking about Gashmius, there it can be Tishma. There he can hear and hear from the distance. Until the Yid reaches a level that he becomes a balabas, has a full control on the entire world. And that is when a Yid exercises b'chol d'rochecha da'eyu, that in all your ways I shall know him. In other words, in all of the gashmiyas, all of his gashmiyas is also tied in with elokus, with godliness. And he becomes permeated with his Creator, that he realizes that the Creator and what he has created are totally united. And this leads to the Aveda of Afatzas HaMayones Chutza, to spread the wellsprings of Chassidus. And this will lead to the coming of Mashiach, and especially now that we are in the month of Elul, and already in the last Shabbos of the month of Elul. And it is the last Shabbos of the year of Hoyoy Tiyeh Shnas Nisim. And now we are about to enter the year of Arenu Niflois. We will envision miracles, and when we're talking about envisioning miracles, the first and foremost of miracles is the great miracle and wonder that will happen with the coming of Mashiach. And then we will have even yet greater wonders than we had when the Yidden went out of Mitzrayim, as the pasuk tells us, Ki meitzeischa me'eretz Mitzrayim arenu niflois, because we are entering a year that not only is it a year of miracles, it's a year of arenu niflois. We are bringing in the Aleph. What does the Aleph stand for? The Aleph stands for Alufei Shalaylam. It stands for the Rabbeinu Shalaylam. So this year, when we are exercising to bring in the Aleph, the Alufei Shalaylam, it will be a year of wonders, and the greatest of wonders, the coming of Mashiach Tzidkenu. The Rebbe continued, as we've already spoken many times, about the custom of being makil kehilos b'Shabbos, which means to congregate Yidden on Shabbos and learn Torah with Yidden on Shabbos, and primarily that the learning should lead to an inyan which is negei l'poil, which is negei l'maisa. So if this is something which has to be done in every Shabbos, how much more so does it have to be done in this Shabbos? Shabbos when we are the last Shabbos of the year. Shabbos when we are getting ready for the new year. And as the Medrash tells us, that Yidden have this nature, that Yidden are confident, even before entering Rosh Hashanah, we are confident that the Rebbe will give us a new year. And that is why the Medrash says, Yidden, when it comes to Rosh Hashanah, loifshim leveinim, or mesatvim leveinim, they get dressed in white clothes, which is a sign of victory and acceptance, being confident that the Rebbe is giving us a new year and a blessed year. So it's definite that this type of a Shabbos has to be utilized for congregating Yidden, and it would be extremely appropriate that when we go to the shuls and speak to Yidden, to bring this message to them, that everybody should make sure that being that we're about to enter Yontif, and Yontif, it is a mitzvah to celebrate in a joyous and festive way. And how do we celebrate in a joyous and festive way? That is, as the pasuk says, ichlu mashmanim, ushtu mamtakim, to eat good foods, delicate, delicious foods, and drink special drinks, sweet drinks. And how is all this done? So we have to make sure that every Yid has the means to have all these things on their Shabbos table and on their Yontif table. And especially this year. That this year, it's a unique, a special year that we will be celebrating 2 days Yontif, and from the 2 days of Yontif we will be entering into a Shabbos. So we have to see to it that every family should have, to be able to celebrate properly, Seifer the 2 days of Yontif and Seifer Shabbos. This is for us here in Chutz La'aretz. We will have this type of a repeat for 3 times. Because we will have it Sukkot as well. We will have the 2 days of Sukkot leading us into Shabbos Chol Hamoed Sukkot, and then we will have the last days of Sukkot leading us into Shabbos Bereishis. However, in Eretz Yisrael, they only have one opportunity to unite the Yontif and the Shabbos, and that is on Rosh Hashanah, because Rosh Hashanah is celebrated even in Eretz Yisrael also 2 days. So again, the Rebbe is urging very strong to see to it that everybody has everything fully so that they could really rejoice properly during the Yontif days. Another special thing this year is that being that Rosh Hashanah comes out on Thursday and Friday, and Shabbos is Gimel Tishrei, 3 days in the month of Tishrei, so the fast of Gedalia will come out on Sunday, on Dalet Tishrei. The fast of Gedalia is already a postponed fast, because the fast of Gedalia, originally Gedalia was killed on the 2nd day of Rosh Hashanah, so the fast should have been on the 2nd day of Rosh Hashanah. But being that we couldn't arrange a fast on a Yontif, so that is why every year it was arranged, we have it fixed for 3 days in the month of Tishrei. But being that this year 3 days in the month of Tishrei is coming out on a Shabbos, and on Shabbos we cannot fast, so we will be fasting on Sunday 4 days in Tishrei. So the fact that a fast day is postponed twice, this is something special, says the Rebbe. Why? Because this should lead to it that the whole concept of fast days should be totally postponed and turned into days of Yomim Tovim. As the Rambam writes, Hayomim ha'elu yahafchu l'sasein l'simcha, that these fast days will be converted to days of joy. And as he concludes, ha'emes v'ha'shalom ha'hevu, that people will be loving truth and peace. Which in other words means Avas Yisrael and Achdus Yisrael. Total unity amongst Eden. And total unity amongst Eden is needed, because this is something which will lead to Geula. Because being that what led to Golus, the fact that there was lack in Avas Yisrael, so now when we will correct that, and we will have proper Avas Yisrael, Emes v'Hashalom ha'hevu, this will lead to Geula. And especially, says the Rebbe, we have to make sure that everybody should have all their needs, not only for Yontif, but also for Shabbos. Because if somebody would be lacking what he needs to properly celebrate Shabbos, we may suspect that is perhaps he's already fasting on Shabbos, or it is relating to the fast. And Shabbos, we know we have to be very careful not to fast on Shabbos. So therefore the Rebbe says this is something which we have to make sure to see to it that everybody has all their means to be able to celebrate the Shabbosim, the Yomim Tovim, and the Shabbosim as a Yontif and Shabbos should be celebrated. This also, while talking about this also leads to a question: when Mashiach will come, how will we celebrate Rosh Hashanah? Will it be in 1 day or will it be in 2 days? Because in the Gemara we find that even in the times of the Beis HaMikdash, if those witnesses that had to come and say that they saw the new moon, if they would come late, then they would already wind up having 2 days Yontif. So the question is, when Mashiach will come, what will be then? Being that there will be a Bezdin, and Bezdin will have a full control on everything, how everything should run. So obviously they will also be able to see to it. It will be within their authority to see to it that the witness should come on time, and we will only have 1 day Rosh Hashanah. But on the other hand, being that for so many years we celebrated Rosh Hashanah 2 days, to such an extent that to us now, when it comes on the 2nd day Rosh Hashanah, we have to search how can we make a Shechayanu on the 2nd day, to the extent that we have to have a new fruit and so forth. Because all this shows how the 2 days of Rosh Hashanah are really one day. So it could very well be that when Mashiach will come, we will also have only 1 day of Rosh Hashanah. I'm sorry, then when Mashiach will come, it will also be extended for 2 days of Rosh Hashanah. Sorry. The Rebbe concluded the Farbrengen, according to the Minig of Chabad, that we recite Pirkei Avos during all the summer weeks. So according to that system, this Shabbos, today, we will finish the last cycle of saying Pirkei Avos this year, and we will be saying the last 2 Prokim, Perek Hey, Perek Hamishi, and Perek Shishi. This, says the Rebbe, is extremely appropriate for today's date. Today is Chav Hey El, 25 days in the month of El, which is the day when HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the world. What is the beginning of the 5th Perek? Ba'asara ma'amoros nivra olam, bringing out how HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the world. How does the 6th Perek end? Kol ma shebara HaKadosh Baruch Hu b'olamai, everything which HaKadosh Baruch Hu created in this world, lo yibra ela l'chvoidei, all of it was created to bring honor to Hashem. So again we see how in the 5th Perek, as well as in the 6th Perek, there is emphasis on the concept of the creation of the world, which this took place today. So definitely this is an appropriate time that everybody should accept upon themselves proper achlotas, proper resolutions, and such type of resolutions which should be brought down into a reality, and to utilize this day and these days, these special days which we are in, and should all lead to a ksiva v'chasima tova. A good year.